Good morning, everybody, and welcome, to the most anticipated section of today's meeting. It's going to be environmental risk assessments. Just wait for the collective groan to calm down. But bear with me, your environmental risk assessment life is about to get a whole lot easier. So within Insectram, we're growing in the UK, and as we speak to more and more pest controllers, we're getting a general idea of how people are addressing your ERAs. Everybody's doing it differently. Some people are asking what's, and other people have got these things filed off in steel cabinets. But generally, ERAs are being dealt with somewhere in between that. Pest control, they're not quite sure what to do with them. They're a bit cumbersome and time consuming. We will always advise you, to read the crew guidelines on ERAs available on Google or any other search engine. And also, John Horsley at the BPCA is a guru on that kind of thing. So any kind of real help and advice will always come from those guys. But here at Insectram, we're looking to be not just another pest software company. We're all pest controllers ourselves, so we want to be almost an industry guiding light and provide help and advice to anybody who needs it. So what we'll do, let's start looking at ERAs generally, just into a little bit more detail about what these things are and why we need to be on top of it. Okay, so what are environmental risk assessments? Okay, lots of you will be using them, hopefully. Let's look into a bit more detail. Essentially, they are a crucial piece of documentation that evaluates the potential impact of your work as a pest management specialist on site and more specifically on the environment. They're there to identify the risks linked to any methods that you're using and ensure that you are compliant to legal standards. In the UK now, ERAs are a legal requirement, that must be done during the introduction of new pest control methods, any modification to existing methods, or any changes in pest populations. So the importance of ERAs, why do we have to complete these things? Essentially, it's minimizing harm to non-target species. These are a document that are there to help you identify potential risks, and tailor your pest methods to protect the non-target species. They are there to support legal compliance. So the use of rodenticides, particularly anticoagulants in the UK, is under strict stewardship. We've all heard of CREW, hopefully. CREW guidelines, again, are all available online. So this is a legal requirement now. And it's even specified on the product label often that the ERA must be completed before the application. Protecting your clients and enhancing public trust. Any pest control company worth their salt will be asking their clients if they have ERAs in place from their current pest control company. We have, as pest controllers ourselves, we have come across people going onto our clients and asking them, does your current pest guy complete ERAs? And the thing is that the public now are becoming more and more aware of this, particularly technical officers in the food industry. But ERAs are not just a compliance thing now. They will potentially lose you business. If you are not completing ERAs properly and your clients are not having them on site or available, then potentially other companies who are doing it properly will come and take that business away from you. When do we need to complete ERAs? So let's look at the critical moments for conducting ERAs in the field. This is specifically when you are introducing new pest control methods, You don't have to fill in ERAs on every single visit to the same site. It's the initial visit on site where you need to do a survey, assess it, and complete an ERA. If you modify anything on that site, you also need to complete an ERA again, just to clarify the changes that you've made and to reassess any new risks that have arisen from your modifications. If there's any significant changes in the pest population, that's another trigger, to look at and complete an ERA on that site. So the criteria is for external baiting in and around buildings, So ERAs are mainly for external baiting. Products authorized only for indoor baiting do not generally require ERAs. However, There is a code of best practice, and it is entirely up to you as a business, as a pest controller, as to when you think you should be completing ERAs. If there's any risk whatsoever, then I would suggest completing ERA, even if you're internal baiting. The external baiting in and around buildings, I think, is a bit subjective, but to cover our side of the business, we will complete ERAs at all times, inside and outside. Let's look at legal requirements. There is a framework that governs ERAs in pest management. There's nothing specific, okay? It's essentially split over several pieces of legislation. This is all about when something goes wrong, okay? So the Environmental Protection Act, this will outline the need for ERAs to protect the environment. There's a control of pesticide regulations, which mandates you to complete ERAs for compliance with pesticide usage. The rodenticide stewardship regime, this is probably the most significant driver for ERAs for us as pest controllers. The code of best practice, wasn't it, from CREW requires reassurance that rodenticide products can be used without unacceptable risk to wildlife and other non-target species. So I'll say for us, the CREW best practice is a real driver for us to be completing ERAs. There's also the Wildlife and Countryside Act, which protects impacts on protected species and their habitats. So in summary, there's no single ERA law, okay? But there's a cumulative effect of these regulations throughout the stewardship schemes, which means that if something goes wrong and you have failed to complete an ERA, there is lots of legislation that will catch up with you. This is going to result in legal action, in fines, and obviously reputation damage to you and loss of clientele. Let's say we're conducting ERAs. Everybody's got the documents in some way. As we talk to people, are writing them out. Some people have created them on their own computers. There's lots and lots of different people are doing things in different ways. What we say to people is, yeah, you're completing these ERAs. Are they good enough? What if something goes wrong? You poison a protected animal, or you cause some kind of environmental disaster, and you land up in court. Is your ERA robust enough? The first thing we'd ask is, can you actually find it? If you've done something wrong on a job, something gone terribly wrong, can you find your ERA linked to that specific job? And secondly, is it robust enough? Okay, will it stand up in court? So it's not just a formality. You are creating a critical piece of evidence demonstrating due diligence. Okay, so let's have a look at a couple of samples here. I'm not going to name names, all right, but this is from one pest control company. The address, name and address, not completed properly. Name of client's representatives crossed out. Guy that's done it is called Mick. All right, we did it today. We've circled a few kind of infestation questions, and the first real technical question is, why is it necessary to use a rodenticide at this site? Why can't the situation be resolved using other methods? Tried traps, didn't work. Okay. Probably not going to stand up in a court of law. That is not a good enough answer. Let's look at a next question is, if you intend to use SJRs, why? They work better. Again, probably not a robust enough answer. There's lots of things on here that's wrong. Let's look at the product that's being used. They want the product name, the active ingredient, and the HSE authorization number. Contract block. Okay. Not the right answer. But when you look at the questions being asked by the ERAs, they're actually very, very technical questions. And as pest controllers on site, do we have time to complete these in the detail with all the requirements, all the questions, all the correct answers? I think it puts a lot of pressure on guys in the field to complete this document correctly and properly and have a robust legal document linked to every single job that you need it on. The barriers of effective ERAs, from what I gathered from talking to guys out in the field, is they just take time. Time is money. Do we have time to sit in the van every single time and writing these ERAs out? Lots and lots of questions. It could have 20, 30 minutes to a job. And there's also a bit of uncertainty in what answers are required by the ERA. So the sample we saw before, that's just somebody who doesn't really know what to write. I'm in a rush. I'll just write something. It'll be fine. Nobody looks at them anyway. Off it goes into the back of the van or into a folder, and that's it. Which is fine. Do it until something goes wrong and somebody comes and says to you, where's your ERA for that job? And you either can't find it or that is what you present to the authorities. So it's just going to be more paperwork. It's time, it's effort, and these kind of things, like any risk assessment, they're fine until something goes wrong, and then they will be examined closely. So fortunately, your friends at Insectram, because we're nice guys, are looking to integrate the full ERA questionnaire within the Insectram pest control software. For those guys already using Insectram, there is already a section of ERAs within the app. But as we've looked at it in more detail, we've found it's not robust enough. So we've had to completely redesign the way that Insectram works with ERAs in the field. The first thing we will look at is the app. Okay, so all of the Insectram is done in the field on the mobile app. There is a section of an environmental risk assessment that you complete after you've done your visit, done any QR code scanning, any recommendations that have been raised, and just before we go to create the visit report, there is a question: do you need to complete an ERA? Yes or no? No, we'll skip you straight to the visit report because you've not used anything. You don't need to complete an ERA, or you're on a site where you don't need to complete a second ERA. Or yes. Currently, yes, we'll get a small drop-down menu of checkboxes. Okay. This was created at the very beginning of the ERAs, but as we've realized, there is a lot more behind it. So we're still going to use the app, but we don't want to create too much work for the field guys. All right. We don't want you having to sit there with an app in the cold with gloves on, trying to basically mirror what you'd normally write down on a piece of paper. So what we have created is auto-filled data. So you'll still get the selection of, do you need to complete an ERA? No, we'll skip you straight to the visit report. Or yes, we'll now take you to a much more detailed section of the app. We will start to auto-populate the fields for you, okay? So all of the questions within the ERA form, the name and the address, for example, will be taken from the login from the app, so your client details that are on the app. The assessor will be the technician or the person that's logged into the app with the full name. And again, the dates and the document numbers will all be taken from the work order that has been created within Insectram for that particular job. You will then have drop-down menus. Okay, so the infestation will be yes or no checkboxes, similar to these. And then the more detailed questions, we have created pre-filled answers for you. There will be a drop-down menu. So the first question, explain your choice of rodenticide use based on the risk on this site. You will have options. All you will see is the headlines. Okay, so it's a high infestation risk, public health priority. You will just check that box if that's the case. Behind that option is all of the text that's been pre-written for you. External activity, exactly the same. There is also a free type box. If none of these apply to your particular site at the time, there'll always be a free type box for you. This then runs through the entire official environmental risk assessment with all the questions and all the answers pre-written for you already. So you just click the requirements and click the answer you want, and it will pre-populate the report for you. Once you've completed the ERA, you'll then go on to the visit report, complete that as necessary. Then the full copy of the ERA with your selected answers and all the address, everything that's needed, pre-populated, will print at the bottom of the Insectram visit report. So it will always be associated with that call, with that work order number on that date. So your client gets a copy. It's also on the portal, so your office gets a copy. If anybody asks for any kind of risk assessment, it's always assigned, it's always sat with the actual visit report for that day. So you no longer need to worry about losing these things, filing them away. They are just there. Okay. So what will it give you? It's going to give you increased accuracy in risk assessments. There's no more kind of rushing through these things, scribbling answers down just to get it done. It's going to be precise answers that have been qualified. okay, in pre-composed compliant statements. This is going to give you real accuracy and real evaluation. It's going to enhance your data management because it collects all the data. Everything you do within Insectram, it collects the data, it keeps it stored, it's on the client's portal, it's on your own management portal as well. So again, all the resources are there for you to reduce your time. There's much better compliance tracking. If any of you guys using Insectram know that pretty much everything that we're doing in Insectram collects data. So if you are scanning pest monitors out on site, it's collecting the data, it's automatically pest trending. You'll be able to use that information to reassess your ERA should you need it. And there's some real insights, again, created by Insectram with the increased AI usage that we've got. There is much more effective strategies around the use of our heat maps. So again, you can use the Insectram heat maps and the trending to evaluate your ERA. So talking about AI, where are we going in the future of these things? I think ERAs, the industry is constantly evolving. The ERAs are going to be influenced by advancements, by regulatory changes. And so we will be on top of that. Anything that changes within the crew regulations, within the ERA, we will incorporate that straight back into Insectram. So any changes will be made instantly. So you'll be constantly up to date with ERAs. Hopefully in the future, we'll be using AI technology to help you improve the precision of risk evaluations. We're talking about AI bots. We're talking about AI trawlers going through the Insectram site and identifying risks for you and your clients. It's quite terrifying. When I talked to Taylor about what he's expected in the future from AI, he was even talking about having AI robots roaming around food factories and doing pest inspections for us. Yeah, incredible stuff coming. But just to know that any changes within the industry, we will stand at the side of it, grow with it, and make any changes that's necessary. So the key takeaway to this is the ERAs. I know a lot of people see them as a pain. They're just there to be done. They're a piece of the paper, but they are essential in safety and compliance in pest management. And it's a legal requirement. They are mandated in the UK legally. And it's going to show customers that you are compliant, that you're professional, and that you are complying with the regulations and improving efficiency. So a very brief presentation, but that's pretty much it.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. And we have some good questions coming in as well. So we shall run through those for you.
Fantastic.
So first one kicking off, are arrays required for mold trapping, or do you just consider it best practice?
I would say best practice. If you're not using rodenticides, which you shouldn't be for moles anyway, I would look at best practice rather than ERAs. Yep.
That's cool. Thank you very much. And I think it's also important, isn't it, if you're especially doing it in public areas, you want to document any risks and stuff off the back of that as well.
Absolutely, yeah.
So this isn't more of a question. This is more a discussion point regarding ERAs. So Crew Code of Best Practice states that one must be done and it should be recorded. This suggests that we don't have to write it down, although the person has agreed that they believe that we should be doing it. So if a written ERA is brief and not overly descriptive, would this basically be suitable to consider as an ERA? Or actually, is there a level of due diligence that we should be performing these as professionals in a sort of good way?
Yeah, it's a really good question. We've looked through the Crew Code of Best Practice around ERAs. There is a specific document around that. And even though it's quite detailed, it's also quite vague in certain areas. It's very open to interpretation. And I would say, because the potential fallout of not having a robust ERA in place should something go terribly wrong is worth ensuring that you're doing it to the best of your ability. If we start high, at the very highest level, then you are covering all bases. You've got to, I don't think, has anybody been prosecuted yet, Niall, over, I'm sure I read there was one a few years ago over a fox death.
So I believe that I think this is a problem that we have when it comes to the wildlife sort of investigation scheme. there's 4 categories, I believe, and you have basically approved and unapproved basically being the main ones. And that all comes down to usage of the rodenticides. So if it's approved, you've done everything as per the product label and there has been a death. I believe we've had one of those in the last handful of years, I believe, but unapproved is slightly higher. So if you're not doing an ERA, I would think that you would fall into that unapproved section, because actually you're going against the product label, because the product label now states crew. Crew now states to follow codes of best practice. If ERAs are built into codes of best practice, that's your product label breach there. Yeah.
It's a tough one. And I do think it's about the robustness as well. We all know what we don't, but I guess you can imagine what it's like having your paperwork picked apart in court by a prosecutor. If you have scribbled a little bit of information on an ERA and something terrible has happened, have you completed that paperwork correctly? And they will be after you. They will look at every single way to get a prosecution through. And the ERA is probably one of the easiest things to go after you with. So I would say the questions, even though they're quite technical questions, and that's why people are not really completing them properly, they need to be completed properly. There needs to be a robust answer in there. So with the preordained answers with Insectram, it covers you very quickly. You're just checking the boxes. It's already populated. These are all legally compliant answers that will stand up in court for you.
Yeah, and I think the option is as well, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And obviously, as an industry driving professionalism forwards, even if we are seeing these grey areas and justifications, is actually maybe we need to be on the right side of the fence, showing that we're not like other users of rodenticides who may not be using them as correctly as we might like.
Yeah.
So I have a couple of questions on. So here we go. Do you have an app that's available to be used on desktop in the office, or is it a browser-based system for sort of back of house?
It's both, yeah. So Insectram is a complete pest management software tool. It has a CRM, so a management system, which is desktop-based, that runs your entire business, your portfolio, your work calendar, and the field work is application-based. So it's a mobile application for Android or Apple, and the CRM and the app work together. So you send work out to the field by the app. The app is very simple to use. Again, we, as pest controllers ourselves, we understand that you can't be in the field messing about with apps and phones. So everything is on the app is drop-down menu based and very simple to use. If anybody wants a free demonstration, just log on to Insectram or email us at info@insectram.co.uk. We will happily send you out a free demo.
Wonderful. We'll pop the website in for the chat as well, so everyone can have a look at that as well for you.
Thank you.
So we have a couple of questions on cost. So I haven't been told whether the people who've asked the question are sole traders or sort of small businesses, but do you have a rough sort of guidelines around the cost and stuff for sole traders and maybe people under 5 employees and such?
Yeah, absolutely. We are transparent with costs. Just log on to the Insectram website and click the cost button and it's there for you. There's three packages for the really small guys with under 100 clients. There's a 100 client plus package, and then there's the pro package, which incorporates food manufacturing, food production, quality, and all the real kind of cool stuff like the pest trend analysis, the heat mapping. So yeah, just log on to the Insectram website. It's all there for everybody to see. What I will say is there are no hidden charges with Insectram. There's no setup fee. All of the online support is free of charge. There's no surprise fees. It's pretty much what you get. So please log on to insectram.co.uk, have a look at the prices, and just give us a shout if you need to talk to us.
I just put the pricing into the chat for people who may not be able to access it straight away.
Yeah, sure.
So we've had one around, is there a possibility for a standalone digital ERA system on the app? I'm not sure if that's maybe part of a yearly review of the site or whether it's for sort of specific incidences of rodenticide. So whoever has asked the question, because they're anonymous, you can maybe clarify that for us. But would it be standalone?
Could you just repeat the question, Niall? Sorry.
So is there a way of getting a standalone digital ERA maybe on the app? But I wasn't sure if that was like a site environmental once a year, have you got this and this? Or if it's like a rodenticide based ERA question. I don't know if either of those are available on Insectram.
Not at the minute. The good thing is with Insectram, it's our software. We built it from the ground up. As we're growing, we like to think that we're in Insectram. We're a pest control family. We've got all sorts of clients coming in from the one-man bands up to the sort of larger companies. And everybody works differently out there. I thought there was one model of pest control. Turns out there's probably about 5,000 different models of pest control, the way people work and do things. As clients are coming on board, they're asking, can we have this? Can we have that? The answer usually is, yeah, we can sort it out for you, providing it's something that will benefit all the Insectram users. What we don't want is to tailor the system to every single different person. It's got to be a global system. But yeah, of course, we have created certain things for certain people. And the standalone ERA, I'm trying to think where that would fit in. But pretty much, yeah, of course, it would. All you need to do is just create a one-off job, a client. It would link to the visit report, and you'd create an ERA for that particular site. Yeah, I think that'd be easy enough to do. In fact, Tailline is also developing an auditing system as well within Insectram. So that could potentially work with the ERAs as well.
Cool. Awesome. So basically watch your space, and if you come along to Insectram and you've got any suggestions, and obviously Craig and Tailline are always happy to hear them.
Of course.
So we've had one. So we've also had, is there a pre-report writing tool built into Insectram? So I'm assuming these are pre-populated statements you can select for the sites?
In a way, yeah. So this would be on the field app. So when a technician on site, the application runs through various kind of criteria. So the actual visit report writing, we didn't want to create pre-written statements because everybody's got their own style. Yeah. When they're writing visit reports, everybody's got their own way of putting things and saying things. So there is a free type. The actual visit report itself is free typing. You write your own story based on that particular visit report. The other things are, there's lots of things on there that are already preordained. Pesticide usage, the drop-down menu, you just click it and it drops down all the pesticides on site. You just click the ones you've used. Same with housekeeping and proofing recommendations. There's drop-down menus for that as well, pre-written questions. So we made the app as simple to use in the field as possible, but also it needs to have the flexibility for people to create their own story, if you like, and their own reporting.
Awesome, yeah. I was always told off being far too wordy in my reports anyway. Pre-populated statements probably would have been a good thing for my managers to look at. We had a question around legality of ERAs and providing them to clients. Are we legally obligated to provide these documents to our clients?
That's a good question. I don't think so. But you are legally obligated to complete them and keep them on file yourself. Again, this all comes down to the what if factor. But I think it's good practice to provide them to your client as well. It shows two things. First of all, that you're compliant and you actually care about the job that you're doing and you're professional. And I did mention previously about we have had other pest control companies tapping on the doors of our clients. And one of the questions they ask is, are Shield completing environmental risk assessments for you? So people are actively using that as a tactic to try and prize your customers away from you. That'd be great if your customers can say, oh, actually, yeah, that is there on the back of every visit report. That's required that there's an ERA. I don't know if it's legally a legal requirement to provide them to the client. Maybe it comes under the best practice again.
Yeah, I think this is where we get into legalities, especially if I was looking at it from an auditing standpoint for BRC or potentially one of the supermarket brands. The auditor may want to see that ERA because that would be your justification for carrying out treatment. So you've had prolonged rat activity. Why is it being prolonged? Actually, my ERA is telling you why it's being prolonged because actually due to X, Y, and Z, we're limited in our control methods. We're having to try all these different things as well. Hierarchy. So yeah,
that is a very good point around the BRC, Tesco, Waitrose, any kind of retailer auditor, they are very much up to speed with CRU and ERAs. So they would more than likely ask your client where are ERAs.
Yeah. And I think also it's important as well, part of our report writing is that we do have to tell them what chemicals we are using on site. And again, that ERA is just another supporting document to say, yeah, we've used it, but this is how we're using it, how we're mitigating that risk, especially if we move towards this whole sort of more sustainability practice and lower risk tactics as well. Just got one more question on pricing, if that's okay. Your pricing covers a various number of technicians, 1 or 2 by the looks of it.
Yeah, sure.
Do you price per company or authority separately, or is that something that's better for them to pick up with you separately?
Talk to us. Yeah, the packages, so they're quite they're not set in stone as such, but it's flexible. If you're interested, just phone us, talk to us. We'll assess you, what your kind of criteria is, what your business is, and we can talk around the best package available for you.
Awesome, wonderful. That's all the questions. Again, if anyone has any questions, I know Craig and Taylor are usually hanging around afterwards anyway, so if not, we'll get them to you afterwards. Yeah, so thank you again for sponsoring us, and thank you again for coming on and showing us through it all.
No problem. Thank you, Niall. Again, we're very friendly guys. Pick up the phone, email us. We're happy to say hello and have a chat.
Wonderful. Thank you very much.
All right. Thanks a lot.